It's such an honor to host you. I saw a post that you made a few days ago. I believe it popped up in a carnivore page, and you said the carnivore diet has helped me so much with managing type 1 diabetes. I reached out immediately. I really wanted to hear that story. I love hosting people and talking about the topic of type 1 diabetes and how challenging it can be to manage, but how much easier it is when you eat a certain way. And it was only after you had agreed to be on the show that I learned the full story of everything that has gone on and a few of the things that we mentioned in the introduction. Oh my goodness, you have been through the absolute ringer. It's so interesting to hear your story as a retired nurse. You've been in the industry, you've been in the system, to then experience everything from the other side is absolutely bananas. Yeah, it's just, I'm so excited to dive into that with you today.
Great. Yeah, I'm really passionate about sharing my story. Only recently started really talking about it because it was a very, very traumatic experience, as you have heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mother has been a type 1 diabetic for 70 years now. She's 82 years old. So I've watched her manage type 1 diabetes. It's all I've known my whole life with my mom, and she's just done an amazing job. And as you said, like I've been very athletic and high performance athlete in my 40s, and just really loved, natural health and taking care of myself. I've been using functional medicine doctors and more recently naturopathic doctors, which actually is my preference now. We have a great one here in Montana. So I've been in that kind of, for the last 10 years, only using functional medicine doctors. And I'm really grateful that I had the resources, to do that. So my story with type 1 diabetes kind of goes back to, I would say, let's wind it back to, I need to hit a little bit. I never took the thing in my arm that a lot of people took, but that thing did make me very sick in August of 2021. And anytime you have, first of all, one autoimmune disease, which I do, I have Hashimoto's disease, which I'm believing and praying and believing that it's going to be reversed with carnivore. But when you have one autoimmune disease, you're always set up for an additional one. And so anytime you have a viral attack on your body, that is another thing that can easily trigger type 1 diabetes as well. So I had that horrible thing. I was very, very sick. My oxygen saturations got down to 63%. My husband had an oxygen tank at home because he's a dentist and uses ozone frequently. So we just happened to have a nasal cannula. He monitored me overnight. I went to our naturopath. I did a 10 pass, actually, it's called 10 pass ozone, direct IV ozone, but I did 5 passes. That's a whole other conversation. We can talk about it someday if you'd like. But that did save my life. It brought my O2 sats up, but it did some damage to my body. I didn't know that at the time. In 2022, we we're having a great year. We had just moved into a home that we built on the lake, actually in Texas. We spent a week in Hawaii with a couple of our kids and grandkids. And, it was just a great year. But something was wrong. I just knew something was wrong. Very in tune with my body. I was feeling really my brain fog was very severe, and I was thinking it was from the virus that I had had previously that summer in August. So I kind of just blew it off, but as time went on in 2022, I was getting worse and worse and worse, to the point that I started noticing what I now realize is neuropathy in my hands and my feet. My vision was changing very rapidly for the worse. um, and then I got super thirsty. And the thirst, if you've ever known anyone who's had type 1, that thirst, you cannot quench it. Again, I'm thinking, because I didn't even know, as an RN, I did not realize you could get type 1 diabetes as an adult.
Never heard of that. You are by far the latest diagnosis I've ever heard, and I wondered if that was part of having the virus, if that was something that triggered it. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
Yes, yes. And a lot of people that got the thing in their arm, that is, and a lot of those autoimmune diseases are popping up. And there is a huge amount of research that's showing that that alone can absolutely lead to type 1. So we're seeing more diagnoses of adults, even people in their 60s and 70s are being you know, identified as type 1. The problem with medicine, with traditional medicine, is that they are not going to ever look for the root cause. I think we can all agree on that. Doctors these days, they're giving prescriptions, they're giving you medications, and they're just kind of patching things up with drug after drug and then never really looking for the root cause. So I've met people in my Facebook diabetes support groups that have been type 1 and misdiagnosed for over 20 years and scrambling and eating super low carb and taking their metformin and losing their muscle mass and all of those things and doing irreparable damage to their bodies because their doctors will not order the antibody test. There's 4, you need 2 for a positive diagnosis. It's a simple blood draw. So the reason that I was diagnosed so quickly was because I did have that functional medicine doctor in my back pocket. So let's leap forward now to January of 2023. It was January 10th. We got up in the morning. It was a beautiful day. My husband and I love to play golf. We have a golf membership down at Blue Jack National out in Montgomery, Texas. And so we were like, Mark was like, let's go to the golf course. I was like, I can't walk. I was getting super weak. I mean, weak because I was headed towards DKA, but I did not realize that. We get to the golf course. We were walking the course because it was so beautiful. I could only get to the 3rd hole. I wasn't playing. I was just walking it. And I sat down and it hit me. It just hit me. I was like, oh my God, it is my blood sugar. I just was like, everything just like, oh my God, I've got this, this. We need to go to my mom's house. I could have easily just gone to a drugstore to get a glucometer. We went to my mom's about 30 minutes away and my blood sugar was almost 400.
Oh my goodness.
That was a shock because my A1C has always been in the upper 4s, low 5s. And so I called my functional med doctor and she panicked. She said, so you've got to get to an ER right now. You need insulin. And at that point, I was very much kind of in this denial state, like, no. And I was crying and like, no, it can't be. No. She said, I can't manage type 1. You're going to have to go to a traditional doctor and get you need to see somebody now. My mom offered her family practice doctor that she has been seeing for a long time. The next day I went to his office and he drew my A1C on spot was like 10.8, meaning that my blood sugar had been extremely high for months. And in the beginning, the year before, it was like 5.2. So in 1 year, it went from like 5.2 to 10.8.
Wow.
And I was so weak that I'm very, very weak at this point. And my husband is having to do a lot of the speaking for me because I could hardly form a sentence. I was just in really bad shape. And I said, well, what we need, what kind of insulin are we going to? He goes, well, I want to watch you for about a month. But in his notes, I just recently looked at, he did diagnose me that day as type 1. But he wanted to watch me. I'm not sure for what, but he gave me prescriptions, metformin, a high blood pressure medication when my blood pressure has been between 100 to 110 over 50, 60 my entire life. And my cholesterol has always been perfect. And here's your statin. And I because I've been out of traditional medicine for so long, I'm like, what is this for? He goes, oh, I said, I don't need high blood pressure medication. He goes, well, that's to protect your kidneys. And I said, from what? He said, high blood sugar. I said, I started laughing. I was like, you have no idea who I am and how dedicated I am to my health. I said, you probably have never. I said, my A1C will be down into the 4s in no time. I'm not going to need this. Well, you need to fill it. And why would I take a statin? Well, to protect you. I didn't even get him filled. Okay. He gives me this metformin. He refuses to give me insulin. He wants to watch me. And he referred me to my mother's endocrinologist. I do that in quotes because I had no idea that her endocrinologist that had been treating her for 20 years was not technically an endo. He's internal medicine. His practice is limited to diabetics, to diabetes, so but he inherited his father's private practice in endocrinology. So off I go and I start doing everything I can to get this blood sugar down. So I am walking a lot more than normal. I'm walking and taking this metformin. It is making me so sick. I could just, already I was so like losing weight bad. Um, so within that first week, I did get an appointment with my mother's endo. So I went to see him and I said, what kind of insulin are we gonna start? Right. Well, I just want to watch you for a while on this hormone. And in the meantime, my functional medicine doctor had already confirmed by then, because I went on the 11th to my functional med doctor's office. I was already confirmed type 1 with 2 positive antibody tests by that time. And so I'm like, there's nothing to watch. I am a type 1 diabetic. I need insulin.